So we need to model this tufted cushion. There are some video tutorials online. They tend to be in foreign languages, and for some people it's a little difficult to follow along. So I'm going to do one real quickly in English. This is targeted for uh, someone that is using a much older version of Cinema 4D without MoGraph. So let's go to a new file, add a cube, adjust its size roughly. The important thing here is to set the X and Z segments so that we can see them. I'm going to set the display to the one showing lines. So now when I add the segments here, I can see those lines. Now I want an even number, so I'm going to go, I could do 8 by 8, but I'm just to make this quick, I'm going to go 4 by 4. All right. So I'm going to make this. Let's see. Do I need to make it editable? I don't think so. I'm going to leave it as it is, and I'm going to add the cone. Now this cone is going to be sort of like what we're using to push down the parts where the buttons go. So I'm going to go to the cone and make sure it's pointing down. I'm going to go to the cone's orientation and make it a negative Y. And we need to change the segments so that we get a good result with the hyperNURBs that we're going to use. So I'm going to set the height segments to 1 and the rotation segments down to something like 7 or 12 or 14. And I'll worry about the size later. So I'm going to go into my top view and making sure that I can see the wireframe. And I'm going to set this one cone here. And then I'm going to copy it. Just control click drag. Actually, what I'm going to do is make an instance of it. Alright, so I have this one instance. I'm going to move it over to where I need the next button to be, and then I'm going to copy that instance and move it to the position of the next button, and I just need to do this where I need all of these buttons. This is not exact placement. I'm just roughing it so that they are right over those points on the cube. Okay, now I'm going to group together the cone and the cone instances. So I'm just going to go group objects. And I'm just going to move it down so it intersects at that part of the cube. Now I just got to put this into a bool, cube on top, so that the bool is doing A subtract B, so it's cube subtract the the group of the cones. And then we'll put this into a hyperNURBs, and that's not what I'm going for. What I need to do is in the bool object, I need to tell it to create a single object, because right now it's separate between the cube and the cone parts. So I'll do single object, and now there we go. Now to adjust the wrinkles, we can fiddle around with a lot of stuff. We can adjust the height of the group of the cones, or we can go to that original cone object and change the rotation segments. A lower value will give us fewer, softer wrinkles, and a higher value will give us more sharper wrinkles. So you just need to find a balance that you like. You can also experiment with just doing subtle movements on these pieces. But that's essentially that. And then just to make the buttons, all we need to do is copy this group with the cones. Okay, and then instead of a cone, I'm just going to use a sphere. So I'll add a sphere, and I'm going to position it in the same spot as the cone. Delete that cone, and then I'm going to select all these instances, And in the object properties for all these instances, I'm going to drag the sphere in. The sphere is too big, so I'll go to its radius and turn that down. And then I'm going to select the group of these buttons, and I'm going to adjust in the coord tab the scaling factor on the y-axis. And then I can go back to the sphere's radius and turn that down. And then just the null object for these buttons, just change its position like so. Now if we need it to be more curved, then I'm going to go with a deformer, the FFD, freeform deformer. And what I need to do is group this with the buttons. So I'm going to call this group, this null buttons. I need to group it, all of this stuff together. The cushion, the buttons, and the FFD. So I'll select them all and do a group objects. Now I need to go to the FFD. It's too big. So I'm going to adjust the FFD's Y size. And it's X. And it's C. So it's just about big enough to cover all the stuff here. And then to get the top to curve, I'm going to go to the points mode with the FFD deformer selected. Now I can select a point and drag it up, and it'll curve that. So let me Control R, do a test render, and there we go. So like I said, you can go you know, I did a 4x4 segment, but you could, you know, do whatever. So that is it. Shoot me an email if you have any questions, and yeah, have fun.